I was talking to our customers, today morning, and I felt that, we did show them a demo, but some of the pain points were around, how they could, quickly go from, zero, where they don't have a setup, quickly to say a minimum viable product. Just like, Peter was explaining today morning. Yeah. So I'm wondering, can we give our customers a demo?
Yeah, we can surely give them a demo. So what is the idea? Do you want to talk a bit more about it so that it'll be easy for me to solution an architecture around that?
Well, I'm not really sure I'm going to share the idea in front of 1,000 people. I'm not going to do that.
Okay. You're customer obsessed. You are indeed customer obsessed. So at least can you tell me what is the architecture you are?
Well, the customer told me that the architecture they're going to look at is actually a LAMP architecture. So it's Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP.
Okay.
That's kind of the architecture they are looking at.
Okay. Okay. So it's a LAMP architecture.
Yes.
So how many of you here use PHP?
Wow. Ruby? I see a few hands going up.
Okay. I'm going to ask the word .NET.
.NET? Oh, we have a lot of developers here. Use .NET. Great. Excellent.
Okay. So you don't really want to go fast into production. You don't want the idea to sit down, you wait for some hardware to come in, you wait for infrastructure to be built around that, you catch hold of some ops guys to come and do infrastructure for you. Because I'm sure your customer would not have the skills to do infrastructure work. He would really want to get his idea into a viable product really quickly so that he can show it to the his customers and get a buy-in for it.
Exactly. It's basically just a founder and they have a development team. It consists of one developer. Okay. So they don't really want to get into infrastructure management.
Okay. Okay.
So what kind of tools can we give them?
So let us look at Elastic Beanstalk. Peter's told a bit about it. So let us dive into Elastic Beanstalk and see what Elastic Beanstalk offers us to ease our application deployment. Okay. So are you seeing some familiar icons here, guys? So I've got the cat there, Tomcat. I've got PHP. I've got Python, Ruby, Node.js, and also for enterprises, .NET, not only open source. We do have .NET containers as well. So you can use these .NET containers to launch your application.
So I think it's interesting that we have this, but actually the customer I spoke to uses JIT a lot. They like this command line kind of interface. Yeah. So Elastic Beanstalk actually integrates very well into JIT. Okay. So I'm going to show you a demo. So I've been playing around with the PHP program last night, and I'm going to use that PHP program to show you a demo of how we can deploy this highly fault tolerant, scalable, available infrastructure in minutes using Elastic Beanstalk. So basically going from a completely zero kind of a setup all the way to a minimum viable product. Yeah. So I would not call it zero because you still have your idea there. Yeah. Your idea is one. Yeah. So I'm going from one to production in less than 25 minutes. Yep. That's all the time we have. We better go to production before that. So let us go to the console because your a JIT user. Can we zoom in a little bit? I'm going to increase the font. I need you to raise your hands when you're able to see it clearly. Okay. Okay, great. That's good. So what I have is I have a index.php file. Okay. That's a lot of code. What does it really do? So actually it doesn't do anything. It basically shows you the image in the back on the stage. I clicked a photo of this. Okay. It shows you the image. It also shows you some information about the instance. Okay. Like what is the instance ID, which availability zone the instance is running in, and what is the host name of the instance. I see that you're pinging a IP address here. So can I ping that IP address from anywhere in the world? Yes, you can ping that IP address from any EC2 instance in any of our regions. Okay. So that is spread across the world. And you get the metadata back. Yes. Okay. So you get the metadata back for that. So the metadata includes all the information I told you. It also includes information about the Amazon mission images as well. So let us quickly take this and deploy this and see how fast we can get it to production. Sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a directory called Summit 2013. Okay. And go to the directory, copy the index.php file from the parent, copy the bangalore.png file from the parent,
Okay.
Okay, so going back a bit, my image is basically here.
It's actually at the root directory. Okay.
Yeah, it's at the root directory. So I'm going to use that.
Okay. That sounds fairly straightforward.
Yeah. Then I'm going to, these commands would be familiar to people who are used to JIT.
How many of you are actually using JIT? Wow. Okay.
Great, great.
Fair
So let
amount
us
of
quickly initialize JIT on this directory
Okay.
and add the files in this directory
Okay.
and then do a commit because I've already done my coding. I've got my code already up and running. So I'm going to quickly do a commit and I'm going to call this 0.1.
Okay. Okay.
Okay? I've committed it now. So the next step is to bring up this environment in AWS that's going to host this application.
Okay.
So I'm going to use EBinit, which is to initialize the elastic beanstalk environment. If you notice this, I'm doing everything on the command line. I've not touched the console till now. Everything is on the command line. So I'm going to use EBinit to initialize the environment. It's going to ask me for the access key and the secret key. This is like your username and password to the RESTful API world.
So what you're saying here is that the moment you actually put in your, your access key and your secret key, you're able to launch to any of the 8 regions from the command line.
Yes.
With a single internet connection.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if you look at this, I have an access key and secret key for my account. I have all the 8 regions listed here. I'm going to launch this application in US West. I really like US West for some reason. So I'm going to use US West.
Yep.
And I'm going to name this application Summit 2013.
Okay.
And I'm going to name this environment Summit 2013 environment.
What does an environment really mean?
Environment is actually a collection of your stack,
Okay.
the code, and also the ancillary building blocks like your elastic load balancers, your auto scaling, your relational database services. All these form one stack inside your container.
Okay.
So that environment is a container actually.
Okay.
So
actually here I would like to pick number 2, which is 64-bit Amazon Linux running PHP 5.4. But I'm glad to see that there are so many options for me. There are 18 options.
So what you saw on the main page there, we showed you, hey, these are what we give you. We showed you, we give you Ruby 1.9.3. But I know a lot of people are still using Ruby 1.8.7, the most stable release of Ruby. People are still using PHP 5.3. People are using 32-bit instances still. People have not migrated to 64-bit. So we give you options to choose from. There are many options here. We've got 18 options, and these options keep growing as those days go by. We'll be adding more containers, more stacks into our system so that we can support you better.
Great. Yeah, not really. I'm not using a RDS.
Yeah, and I'm also not using any RDS inside my code. It's a very simple code. I showed you the code, so it's not using any RDS. So we'll not create an RDS instance, but you can go ahead and say yes here, and we will create an RDS DB instance for you. We will also do the backups for you. We will also do the restorations for you. If you say, hey, I want you to restore this database as of yesterday 4 o'clock, we will do the restorations for you. You don't have to go and do any point in time recovery mucking around. So all this is taken care for you.
So RDS is then basically just a managed service where you're completely taking care of the backup, the setting, the patching, the running, managing everything about the database?
Exactly.
Okay.
So we have a completely managed database service. We support MySQL, Oracle, and MS SQL Server as well on RDS. So I'm going to attach a default instance profile here.
What is really a profile?
So think about it, think an instance as a user. A user can do X, Y, Z on my account. What can the instance do on my account? Can my instance access my database? Can the instance go and talk to my application server? Can it call SDKs to associate address, disassociate my elastic IPs? So an instance profile is basically a bunch of permissions for that instance.
Got it. So what I understand is you've just initialized the Elastic Beanstalk.
Yeah.
But how do I actually deploy my code?
Yeah, so we have done the initialization now. So let us start this environment inside Elastic Beanstalk. So it's as simple as going and saying EB start.
Okay.
And
it's starting the
application Summit 2013. Now, we are already committed a code. So Elastic Beanstalk is able to talk to JIT and find out that, hey, there is a code commit that has happened. And he says, hey, do you want to deploy this code into it? You can choose either ways, and then you can deploy the code later. Let us deploy the code as part of the application so that we can save some time.
So basically what we've done here is basically we've just committed the first version of the product, right?
Yes.
And then you try to make sure that with traction in the market, does it become viable?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes. So my Summit 2013 environment is launching. So that is the stack that is launching. So the stack is going to have my Elastic Beanstalk stack, that is the name. That is the S3 storage that he is going to use for storing environment data. So all my environment related data is stored inside my S3 bucket. It is not stored locally in the instance, giving it a stateless property. The instance is a stateless property. Okay, so let us quickly go back to the console and see what is happening in the instance. I'm going to go to Oregon,
okay,
where I have deployed this app and pick up Summit 2013.
Great.
And
so it's actually starting to launch.
So I've got a list of events that are happening here.
Okay. I see that we just launched, we just gave a single command, but I see that here you're bringing up a load balancer, you're bringing up an Amazon S3 storage. So basically what you've done is we've tried to launch one version of the application, and the entire environment is being built around it automatically.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if you remember Peter's slide a few minutes back, he was talking you through a dev release, a beta release, a alpha, beta, and finally MVP. Okay, so these gives you that option of creating that. So what we are now doing is we are creating a dev environment. You can say the dev, where I have a load balancer, I have got one single instance, and if I have provisioned the database, then I have a RDS database also running there. Now all this is provisioned for you on the fly.
Okay.
So my auto scaling is also coming up.
Okay. That's very interesting. So as the environment launches, one of the things I'm very curious to know is that, the customer that I was talking to, they said that, they would like to develop faster, they'd like to launch faster, they'd like to make sure that even if the product fails, because it is supposed to fail, the first time you launch and you're going to iterate on top of it, they want to be able to do it much more quickly. And they want to basically fall back when they, some code fails. They want to go forward. They want to keep multiple versions in a sense.
Yeah.
How can the Elastic Beanstalk help us then?
So Elastic Beanstalk, as I told you, integrates very well with JIT. So all your versions that you have here is already populated in here. Okay. Let us quickly see a demo of how this versioning can help.
Okay.
You go from one version to the other.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to use already created app because the app is still getting created. For considering the time that we have, I want to show as much as possible. So the app layers are getting created. We'll come back to the app once the app is created. So I have got
You've got multiple environments there.
I've got multiple environments here. So I'm going to look at this running version of this particular app.
Okay. Wow. So basically, like you said, you've taken a picture, and then it's showing the EC2 instance ID, and it's also showing the availability zone.
Yeah.
What is an availability zone?
So an availability zone is a unique point of failure. So it is running on a separate floodplain. Okay. It is a collection of data centers, you can say that.
In other words, a single region has multiple availability zones. Each availability zone is, from what I understood in the morning, multiple clusters of data centers which are running in physically distinct locations in the same region, but are separated from each other for fault tolerance.
Exactly.
They're placed on completely different floodplains. They're placed on completely different electricity grids. So in case a natural disaster like say Hurricane Sandy takes out one availability zone, you're still able to run. You're still able to sort of run from the other AZ as long as you've architected your application to run across multiple availability zones. Is that right?
Exactly. And creating a highly available architecture in AWS is as easy as creating an instance in another availability zone.
How much does it cost to do this? To run on multiple availability zones?
Nothing actually.
Wow. Okay.
So at no extra cost, you can run your instances in multiple availability zones and get a highly available, fault-tolerant application.
Okay.
Okay. So I made a mistake in this application. What I've done is I have forgotten to remove, I put 2 image source codes here. I don't want that. I don't want 2 image tags here. So I had a previous version. So let us go and look at the previous version of this app, which is running here, demo app 1. I've got a running version of that, which has the nice, beautiful single image there.
So what you're saying here is that you can actually have multiple environments running in parallel.
Yes.
So I could possibly even have like a test environment, I could have a quality assurance QA environment, I could have a staging environment, I could have an alpha environment, is that right?
Yes. So you can have individual environments that are unique in nature. They have their unique stack. So I can run even better is, hey, I am developing on 5.2, but I want to test 5.4 PHP. So today, if you want to test 5.4, you need to go and try to create the entire stack, make sure you create another new instance there. All that is gone. All you need to do is create a new environment of 5.4 and deploy your version on that environment. Once you do that, your application is up and running on 5.4. You can quickly test your application on 5.4 so that you can migrate to 5.4 at a later date. Okay?
Great, that sounds great. So let's go back and see if the initial sort of JIT commit that we did has actually launched or not.
It's still coming up.
It's still coming up.
So
okay.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly show you how you can go from a good version of your app, from a bad version of your app to a good version of your app really quickly. So what I'm going to do is take this version,
okay,
which is going to say, hey, this is a version 1, and then
okay.
say, hey, deploy version on my
environment.
S3 environment.
Okay.
The environment called demo app-s3-2, and I deploy it.
So basically it's a single click deployment at this point.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
Great.
what I've done is I've got 4 versions of the application. I know that the second version is corrupted. I don't want to use the corrupted version. I don't want my users to see that corrupted version. I take that version and deploy it. I throw that away and deploy a new version, which is my old version, which is functioning properly. Okay?
Got it.
So, if you look at
here
this,
I see actually 3 layers. One is that you have multiple versions of a particular application that is running. After that, you actually have multiple environments for each of these applications to run. But also on top, I see that here you have multiple applications itself.
yes.
Okay, so this.
Yeah, so there's a huge stack, right? You may be having multiple ideas. You may be wanting to try out multiple ideas. So you have multiple applications. Each application has multiple stacks inside them. So one stack may be a 32-bit stack, another one may be a 64-bit stack, the third one may be a 5.4, 5.3 as I explained to you. And each of these applications and stack are unique in nature. So you can remove them, you can add them. So you can create a QA environment really, really quick here. So once you have created the QA environment, your users have tested it, you're happy with it, you can flip over from QA to production as easy as just...
I see that the S3-2 has actually launched, by the way.
Yeah, so as easy as swapping the environment. So let us go back to the S3-2, which is actually launched now, and I'm going to show you the application that is running here. This is actually running. You can actually go to your web browsers. If you have laptops, if you have mobile phones, you can actually access this application from there.
Great.
Okay, so let us go back to our Beanstalk Summit 2013 that we launched.
Great, it's up and running.
That took us like 12 minutes, I think.
Okay.
Up and running.
This is great. So what you have just accomplished here is that we have taken an application that we have just written. We have actually launched it to an environment in a single click deployment, and what you have achieved is that we have gotten high availability, we've gotten high scalability, we've gotten high redundancy, and at what cost, Ganesh?
So how much do you think we should charge for this, guys?
No answers?
No answers? $100 for
$200?
application?
Do I hear $1,000?
$1,000?
It's actually free.
It's free of cost, exactly.
It's free. You only pay for the underlying resources with Elastic Beanstalk.
So you don't pay for the Elastic Beanstalk service as such. You only pay for the resources that are provisioned by Elastic Beanstalk. So Elastic Beanstalk goes and provisions load balancers, it provisions EC2 instances, it provisions RDS. You pay for those resources. If you stop the application, as always, you don't pay for it.
Great. I'm really interested in S3 that we just talked about in the last, track. So I see that you've actually, stored the Bangalore.png, which is a picture of the, backdrop that we have on the back. Can we put it on S3 and try to, serve it from S3?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Are there any advantages to doing that?
So the one major advantage you have of moving your static content from your EC2 instances to S3 is that you're offloading that network traffic from your origin servers.
So it reduces the load on the origin servers?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're offloading it, so your origin servers are running more cooler. They don't have to scale up so fast because a lot of the work is handled by S3 now. S3 is ready to share your load for you. At 1.1 million requests per second, it's going to share a lot of load for you. A lot of load for you.
Great.
So let us quickly close these apps that I have created. Let me go to S3. And what I've done is I have taken the liberty of uploading the file into a bucket called Ganesh Raj-demo app.
Okay. Can we zoom in there? On
yeah,
the right?
I can zoom in there. So that is my bucket name.
Okay.
Also, if you look at it, what I've done is I've got a link here. A fully qualified URL for Bangalore.png.
So what we have done is you've actually taken the picture and you've converted it into a web service.
Exactly.
Okay, that's great.
So this is now your website. It's ready to serve this file to you. So I can basically click on this and I'll get it.
Great.
So let me go ahead and take this URL and drop it in as an image tag.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my index.php and remove this line. I'm going to comment it out and I'm going to drop in
the image right there. Okay.
Okay. So again I do a git add and then I do a git commit.
Just
so
name
I'm going
it
to make
Al,
it
just name it Al S3, just so we know. Okay. Yep.
Okay. You can also create branches. If time permits, I'll show you, but you can catch me off the podium to discuss more about it. But we do support JIT branches as well. So each JIT branch will become your environment stack.
Interesting.
Yep. So there we go.
Does it automatically push to Elastic Beanstalk?
No. So you have now committed it. Now you need to tell to Beanstalk that, hey, this is my new commit. I want you to push it into the Elastic Beanstalk environment. So I already have an environment running. So I'm going to use git aws.push to.
Great.
There we go. It has been pushed. What has happened now is it has compressed the objects that we modified and pushed it to the Elastic Beanstalk.
Does it mean that it's automatically the environment will restart and it will start deploying the application?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is all automated for you. So we do see that our environment is now starting. So I'm going to zoom in again. And
while it's coming up, I see that there's an environment details here. And inside the environment details, I see there's a configuration. So I'm very curious to know what that configuration really does.
So if I click on you can edit your, see the configuration. The configuration cannot be edited when the application is getting deployed. So let us go to my demo app again. And I'll use the configuration that I recently deployed. So I'm going to use this and edit the configuration here.
Okay.
So do you see something familiar here? Do you see that you can see your instance type that you saw in the Sugar CRM app? So I can change my instance type from T1 micro to the instance types available there.
That is great. So what you're saying is that while the environment is up and running, you can always go back and actually granularly control each of the underlying services and products, and you can change the configuration of those.
Exactly.
That is
exactly.
great.
So I can, what other things can I do? I can also look at my load balancer.
Okay.
I can put health checks on my load balancer.
Okay.
And notifications. You love your notifications,
I
right?
love my notifications.
So, can I have your notifications here? So, you can get notifications for auto scaling, for deployments, any major event that happens in your application, you get a notification for that.
Great. I also see there's auto scaling. Can you quickly talk a little bit more about that?
So, auto scaling is the ability of provisioning of EC2 instances based on user traffic. So, based on user traffic, we would be able to provision your instances and deprovision them. So, scale up and scale down based on traffic needs. You don't have to go and plan your capacity and put, say, 100 EC2 instances for a load that is going to come in maybe on Friday, on Monday itself. So, when the load comes in on Friday, we will automatically scale up your traffic and bring it down. So, you have complete control over it. You say, what is the minimum instances I need? What is the maximum I need? And then you also specify certain scaling triggers, which allow you to scale up and scale down.
So can I actually change these sort of triggers based on my application preferences?
Yes, exactly. Okay. You can do that. So what you can do is, you can take your metric from your application, like for example, how many orders are being created. Take that metric and push it into the CloudWatch alarm and use that as your metric for auto scaling. If I'm creating 100 orders a minute, then I need 5 more instances, because those 100 orders are going to become 500 orders in the next 15 minutes. Okay? So based on application metrics, you can scale up or scale down as well.
So great. So what you're saying is that not only do I not have to plan for the provisioning, I don't even need to do anything about it. Yes. I just specify the overall parameters, and the Elastic Beanstalk automatically takes care of the scaling up, but I think also more importantly, scaling down of the instances when it's not needed.
Yes.
That is great.
By the way, our application is up and running.
Great. I actually don't believe you.
So let us go to this, and I'm going to pick up this URL.
Okay.
I'm going to open an incognito window.
Okay.
Open the developer tools here.
Okay. So you're going to prove to me that it's coming from S3?
Yeah.
Ah, I see. I see.
And then open up the network.
Okay.
And call the URL here.
So can we zoom in there into the source?
If I zoom in there.
Oh, it is coming from S3. That is great.
So that is my S3, right? So I can click on this button, and that is my, sorry. I want to go back and go to the URL so that you can see the URL.
Okay. It is coming from S3.
Yeah.
So great. So what we have done right now is we've just changed the code. We have bought the image from S3. We've deployed the code, and the entire environment has come up again.
Yes.
And we did that in what? 15 minutes flat.
15 minutes flat.
Thank you so much, Ganesh.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate your help.